This is my sad little pitcher plant, also known as a Nepenthes, which is a carnivorous plant. I don't know what kind it is because I got it from a big box store a long time ago, but I'm guessing it's a ventricosa because it has grown a lot regardless of how badly I've treated it. And ventricosas are supposed to be robust and very easy to care for. I recently placed it out here in my east-facing porch where it gets some direct morning sunlight and ambient lighting through the rest of the day. Also, I hung it above my fountain to help increase the humidity, which is probably the nicest thing that I've done for it. It's very dirty, it has spider webs, and I don't know if they're from spider mites or from actual spiders. It doesn't have any pictures at all. I don't see any new ones growing in, and I've never repotted it from this horrible, awful mix it came in. So it's pretty much just been surviving under my care and definitely not flourishing. But recently I've gotten super into carnivorous plants and I finally learned how to properly care for this gorgeous baby so it can thrive. And that's what we're going to be doing in today's video, helping my little Nepenthes thrive. I have been recently really obsessed with carnivorous plants, so I've been really looking into the care that they need. Apparently, Nepenthes need distilled water or reverse osmosis water. I've been giving it tap water, honestly, hose water, and it's been fine, but it's, like I said, it's not thriving, it doesn't have any pictures, and I really want to change that. I want this plant to just be living its best life. Step one to getting this plant to live its best life is to clean it. And thank goodness, I don't think those spider webs were from spider mites, but actual spiders that were just crawling around and making webs on it. So it was very easy to just rinse off. I washed it off in the sink just with regular water, and it was really easy. That's all I had to do. And the next thing we gotta do is get the mix. So the mix I'm gonna put it in is gonna be sphagnum moss with a little bit of perlite. I just got this good quality sphagnum moss. Usually I use a crappy one that's really cheap so that I could propagate my plants. But since this is hopefully gonna stay in this media, I wanted to use a good quality sphagnum moss that isn't gonna break down super quickly. So now we just gotta hydrate it with distilled water. Since I'm gonna be watering this plant with distilled water, we don't wanna start off with sphagnum moss that has tap water in it. You can see how quickly the moss absorbs water. It is literally like a sponge. It's insane. This isn't even sped up. And that's how quickly it's just drinking it. Okay, this part is sped up just so you can see the progression of how big it gets. This little packet got this big. Now with all that aside, we can finally get to repotting. And I'm really excited. So this is gonna be what we're working on. Hopefully you guys can see okay? Yes, let me move these. And I have these two pots. This one is kind of wider, this one is deeper. I wish it was equally as wide, but it's not. And we're gonna see how the roots look to decide which pot to use. But for now, I'm gonna start mixing up the sphagnum moss with perlite because that's gonna be the mixture. I'm gonna be doing just perlite mixed with sphagnum moss. I'm not sure on the quantity of each. I'm just gonna kind of feel it out for myself. I would like it to retain more water because I'm gonna be keeping this plant outside and it gets really hot here in Southern California. Today has been over 100 degrees. It's probably like 90 degrees right now, honestly. And I want to have to water this plant as little as possible. And Nepenthes, this is a plant that likes to be wet. It does not like to dry out. So I'm gonna be giving it more sphagnum moss, which is gonna save me a lot of time and save this plant from being underwater, honestly. Sorry, there's a lot of gnats out here. I'm gonna put some sphagnum moss in here. I haven't squeezed out the sphagnum moss. I think I maybe should actually. So I'm just gonna squeeze it. You can see how much water comes out because this stuff is literally a sponge. It is a literal sponge for water, and it's kind of insane how much water it holds inside of it. So far, this is all the sphagnum moss that I have, and now I'm going to be adding the perlite. I wanted to find a chunkier perlite, but I couldn't find any in store. So this is just like regular sized. If you know of a good like chunky perlite, please let me know because I need some chunky perlite. So there's kind of the soil mix. You can see there's a little bit of perlite in here. It kind of falls to the bottom, but I'm gonna try to keep it as mixed as possible. Now we're gonna go over to the hose to wash off the roots of this plant because they're supposed to be very fragile and I do not want to break any of them. Now we can see how that soil mix it's in is, and it's very dense. Well, this has been in here for over 2 years, and you can pretty much tell. Unfortunately, I found out that there were these little netting that nurseries use to kind of start a plant, and that's not really good for the plant. So if you find that, you want to take it off. So I tried my best to take it off, but the roots were growing out of it, so it was really difficult to do it without harming the roots. I just am gently rubbing the soil, and then once it gets to a point where I'm breaking too many roots with my hands, then I bring out the hose so that we can hopefully even more gently get the soil mix off. In the end, we do wind up with a tiny chunk of roots, but I think it's enough to help the plant survive and put out some new roots in this new sphagnum moss mixture. So I have the plant here sitting in water so that the roots don't get dried out. I decided on using this pot to plant everything, and hopefully it's gonna like it. I'm gonna put a base layer here. And as you saw, the roots are like really small and a bunch of them broke off. And unfortunately, there was like like those nettings around the roots, which I don't like. I tried to take them off as much as possible, but it wasn't really that, it's not that easy without breaking the poor plant. But here we go. And I'm gonna place it in here nice and gently and then fill around it, which this thing is so huge. I know there's much bigger ones, but I feel like this bubba is pretty big. Maybe I should stake it? Would that be too much? I don't know, but I need to make more mix here. Running out of mix. I just don't want to like mix the sphagnum and perlite together unless I know I'm going to use it, because I don't know, I don't want to be wasting sphagnum moss. I don't really have any other Nepenthes tree pot that I could use that for, so. And there are a couple basil shoots in here. So they actually do have cups on them, but it's not really that easy to notice unless it was completely unpotted. So I didn't notice them before, but I know they're there now, coming out from the bottom. Here's a bird's eye view of what's going on. So you can see the little basil shoot in the center there. And in hindsight, I should have probably filmed the entire thing from a bird's eye, but we can't change what's in the past now, can we? Let's get in between here. Here it is. I think I should stake it. I brought this, but I just don't know if I want to use it. I'm gonna put it in the back so that it doesn't get the plant. Let's see. Oh, I definitely want to stake it. It just looks really cool trailing too, you know? I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it down for now, but I'm gonna leave this stake in here in case I do want to use it. But that's it. I'm gonna give you guys an update on if the plant appreciated this repot, which honestly I think it really is, and I'm really hoping that this is gonna help it, like this new, actually like really caring, giving it specialized care is gonna help it to grow new cups, and that's gonna include using only distilled water, no more hose water. I'm gonna keep it outside and I'm not gonna let it dry out, and hopefully this sphagnum moss and perlite mixture is really gonna help it take off as well. I see the basil shoots do have little pitchers coming in, so I hope that they don't die off before that. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I know carnivorous plants aren't really like a big thing in houseplants, but they should be because they're so freaking cool, and I feel like once you get into it, then you're gonna be hooked, kind of like orchids. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Here's the plant today, the day that I'm posting this video. You can see I've staked up 3 of the shoots, and then this one is kind of too small to, well, it's not too small to stake, but I think it's fine just hanging like this, and it's growing towards the sun, so it's still outside, but I haven't hung it up. It's just sitting on a table. Here's the little basil shoot, and you can see the little pictures on it. So far, I think it's really happy. It looks really good to me, and it's definitely not as pretty as it was when it was still in its old pot hanging, but I'd rather it be happy and thriving and living its best life than just sitting there sad but looking pretty as well. That's all the update I have for now, but I'll let you know in the future when I get really big pitchers and when I could finally fertilize it. But yeah, see you later. Bye!